Welcome to the Chronicle Sports Blog. I'm Andy Moore. Alongside me is Chris Cusack, and we're here today to talk about Duke's win over Butler from Saturday in a rematch of April's national championship game, and a game that, at least for the first part, looked a lot like that first game, the April game.
Absolutely, it was low scoring. It was trading back baskets. Although I think that's really the only similarity when you look at it. At the end of the day, Duke really just didn't come out of the gate very hard. They weren't playing very hard. Butler came out really fired up, and they were able to, stick with Duke for the first half.
Yeah, you saw a little bit of Butler trying to control the game's momentum in the first half, and especially the pace of play, similar to April. But in that game, obviously Duke played a little different then. They were much more of a half-court set offense rather than today's much more fast-paced offense. So I thought it was interesting to see how Butler really kind of had their way with Duke in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. I think teams have learned that, after the Kansas State game, that really trying to run with Duke is a bad idea. Butler was very good at slowing the game down and keeping it in a half-court set, and really they were able to penetrate on the Duke defense pretty easily, and they were able to get kick out threes and whatnot, and that really helped them early.
They went into halftime with the score tied 33-33. Nolan Smith said after the game that Coach K gave a very fiery halftime speech. We can only speculate as to the choice of words that was used in that, but I'm sure it wasn't all daggons and daggonnets. But they really fired it up in the second half, and part of that was from Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, he had a tough first half. Only had 4 points. But exploded really in the second half. He added 17 points and ended up with 21 and really had the most efficient game of any Duke player. Nolan Smith led the team in scoring with 24, but he was only 1 for 6 from three, and I guess overall 5 for 13 from the floor. So I think he had a great scoring game, but at the end of the day, it was really all Kyrie.
Yeah, it's easy to fall into the whole sportscaster exaggeration about a player type thing, but I do want to give one stat right now, a season statistics for Kyrie Irving. He's shooting 54%, and he's a point guard.
It's been ridiculous. He's had a great start to the season, and I really don't think you can get much better than that.
Another great player in the game at East Rutherford was Nolan Smith. He went to the line a lot. He showed a lot of aggression. And while he only went 5 for 13 from the floor, he also went 13 for 14 at the free throw line. So he was really getting there in the lane and getting to the rack.
No, absolutely. He had a great play at the end of the first half where he went basically the entire length of the court and slammed it home and really got Duke fired up going into the second half, because I think the air was kind of out of the whole team, and they were not really expecting, or it didn't look like they were expecting much of a fight, and they really got it in the first half. But I think Andre Dawkins really was the hero of the game, so to speak, in terms of coming off the bench and having just a great performance.
Yeah, don't forget about Dre. 32 minutes, 10 points, 8 rebounds. So he showed that he not only has the outside shot, he shot 2 for 4 from beyond the arc, but he can also go down low and get the boards when he's basically playing the 3.
Yeah, Butler's guards were really physical in the paint in the first half and getting rebounds and boxing out, and they were really effective against Mason and Miles and Ryan, keeping them out of the paint. But I think Andre really responded. He took it right to him, and he ended up with 8 rebounds.
Definitely. And I think it goes without saying that these are two teams that look very different from the teams that were in April. Obviously, Butler is missing Gordon Hayward. Duke is missing Shire, Zubes, and Thomas. But Butler still has some pretty good players. They may be 4-3 this year, but they have Shelvin Mack and Sean Van Zandt, who really kept them in the game for a long time.
Well, absolutely. Van Zandt had 10 straight points in the second half at one point. He got a bucket and got fouled, and then hit a couple of 3-pointers, and he was really unstoppable for a stretch in the second half. And but I think it's really overshadowed some issues that Shelvin Mack has had. He's had cramping issues now for 2 years in college, and they haven't been able to figure it out. They hired a nutritionist in the offseason, and even with the kind of improved diet that he's had, he hasn't been able to fix the problem. And it's just sad to see such a great player be kept off the court by some kind of silly, and not silly, but
seemingly trivial.
Yeah, I think that's it's always just tough to see that.
Definitely, it was one of the game's scarier moments actually when the play was stopped for quite some time while they tended to him. All right, so that's it for Duke Butler, and I think we need to look back at what Duke has done these past couple weeks. They went through arguably their toughest stretch of the season. I'm sure there'll be some tough stretches in ACC play this year, but I don't think it takes a genius to see the ACC is a little down this year. They went to the CBE Classic in Kansas City. They beat Marquette and Kansas State. And they played Oregon. They beat them, and then they just beat Michigan State and Butler in 1 week. What do you think about this stretch of games Duke had?
Well, it was certainly crazy on the travel end. They're going all the way to the West Coast and back, but I think it actually looked more intimidating on the schedule before the season than once we actually got into play because, Butler's obviously now unranked. Marquette hasn't had a great start. But again, Michigan State is a great team, as is Kansas State. And putting up those wins this early in the season is certainly with all the travel in between, it's definitely a good sign for this team.
Yeah, most Duke fans, they looked at the schedule before the year. They said Duke would probably be lucky to come away with one loss in that. I don't think anybody really expected them to go roll right through it and be the undisputed number one team in the country. All right, that's it for us. Thank you for listening.